Hello everyone! Today I have a stamping technique to show you to make this cute card. So let's get started. This clean and simple design has a top and bottom frame made by creating a stamp pattern. I used Winnie Walter's The Big, the Bold, and Friends stamp set with these fantastic large words. And from the beautiful Addie's Garden set, I'm going to use this little branch to create the pattern. I've put the stamps on a block for easy access, and I'll be using VersaFine black pigment ink to stamp this with. I pre-cut these pieces off camera for the final assembly. I have two 1 by 5.5 inches of black and white cardstock, an A2 sized panel, and a top folding A2 card base. To start stamping, I will be using this mirror image tool that I bought from So Suzy Stamps. It's a piece of rubber that allows you to do this technique very easily with any stamp. So what I'm doing is I'm going to place the stamp up in the top right hand corner so that it's centered. Pick it up with a MISTI. Then I'm going to leave it there for the entire process of stamping. So I'll go ahead and ink up the stamp and press down in that top right hand corner. And then from here, all I'll be doing is flipping the card around and repeating the process so that I can stamp it again up in the top right hand corner. And at this point, I'm going to remove the paper because I'm going to use the tool to create the other part of the pattern. So I stamp again, press it down on the piece of rubber. I'm going to do it twice just to make sure I have plenty of ink. And it's really important to use the pigment ink because it's slow drying and I wish to use embossing powder later. So I press really hard down on that edge to make sure I have a good stamped image, and then repeat the process for the final corner. So I'll stamp it twice just like before, and when I bring the paper back, I'm going to flip it over so that I stamp the top right side again. And there it is. Now I'm adding clear embossing powder over the top of the stamped image, and then I'll hit it with the heat tool to melt the embossing powder. The nice thing about using clear embossing powder over black is you get a very nice crisp image, and it actually is a raised effect, and it doesn't smear when you watercolor. Now back to the MISTI. I'm going to put the foam piece back in because now I need it in order to do the final stamping piece of the word for the sentiment. So I pick up the block and pull off the big word stamp, friends, and I tend to eyeball it whenever I put mine in. Some people might prefer to measure it and make sure it's more exact, but I just kind of went with it and put it where I thought it looked right to me. This is pretty much the same process as before. I added a little anti-static powder just to make sure I didn't have any stray embossing powder show up in places I didn't want it. And I stamp up the two words and press that down. And when I opened it up again, I saw that I had missed a little spot. And this is the beauty of the MISTI tool, is that you can always restamp if there's a little place that you missed and it's not quite what you wanted. So now that I have that done, I'll go on to the next step, which is to also add some clear embossing powder to the words, shake off the excess, pick up the heat tool and heat set this. And as you can see, it transform into that crisp black image. I just love how it's got that raised effect, and the font is just gorgeous. And now on to the coloring phase. I love to use this little product. It's a little water brush pen. There's water inside of it, so it makes doing these little small water coloring pieces very easy and quick. So I just use this little pen, picked up the lighter pink color in the palette, and just not very carefully went in and started coloring in the little spaces where the little petals are. And after I completed that part, I picked up a little bit of a darker color and just kind of dotted on the inside of each of the petals to create some kind of dimension there, and repeated the same process for the remainder of the card. Now moving on to the final assembly stage. I went ahead and cut off 1/4 of an inch on each side of the front panel. And to finish the card, I'm taping down the black and white strips on either side. As you can see, I'm putting them against the table and holding it up vertically so that I get it lined up correctly, because with these stripes, they're very unforgiving if you don't get them lined up correctly. And so I'm adhering the final piece to finish the card off. You could pop it up, but I just decided to attach it straight down. And there it is. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you like it and subscribe.